I tracked my habits for 365 days. Here's what happened. 1 year ago, this was me, younger with no direction in life, no goals or aspirations to strive for. But one day, everything changed. It was just a normal day, scrolling when a book review popped up on my feed. Little did I know this book would change everything. Around this time, I was starting to try to better myself by working out, but I was never really consistent with it. So without thinking about it much, I purchased the book off Amazon the same day, and that book was Atomic Habits by James Clear. After reading it, I decided I was going to dedicate myself to write down 5 habits that a successful person would do. At the time, I wanted to get abs like every young guy does. So one of the habits was a full body workout and 50 push-ups every day. I also wanted to make some money on the side. So reading business books and working on a side hustle was necessary. Week by week, I ticked these habits off. And at the end of the week, I took a photo to track my progress. Many times, there were blank spaces, symbolizing that I hadn't achieved the habit for that day. But nevertheless, I continued and tried to beat my score every week. And a full year later, approximately 52 weeks, tracked and recorded, I'm here, ready to tell you exactly what I've learned. The first major lesson that I learned is that consistency is key. No doubt you've heard this everywhere, but it is very, very true. I went from looking like this to looking like this in just under a year. A day in, I definitely didn't see any muscle growth. A week in, I probably didn't either. But around the 3-month mark is where I started seeing progress. And this is just a physical representation of consistency because you can see it with your eyes. You can see the muscle growth of my body over the year. But what you cannot see is the mental gains of consistency. Over the year, I read about 30 books, consuming and gaining knowledge that I didn't have prior to that. This allowed me to approach life differently and become more equipped with the challenges that I was going to face. Over the year, I meditated approximately 200 times, building my mental and spiritual well-being. I edited hundreds of videos on TikTok. I journaled hundreds of times, and I spent countless hours invested in my business. A lot of these things I just listed, you cannot see with your eyes, but the power of consistency underlies every single one of them. By committing myself to tracking my habits weekly, it turned into monthly progress, and eventually, yearly progress. And now I can say with confidence that what I do on a day-to-day basis is the new normal for me. It's automatic. Whereas 1 to 2 years ago, playing video games 4 to 5 hours a night was the normal. Eating like shit was the normal. And I was definitely not thinking about any of the things that I do now. Another major lesson that I learned was accountability. In the beginning, I would tick off habits that I didn't even accomplish just to feel a sense of accomplishment. Bluntly put, I was lying to myself to try to make myself feel better. Eventually, I realized that this only hurts my progress and that taking accountability was the only way to grow. So if you decide to do the same thing as I did and write a list of habits and tick them off every day, please learn from me and do not make the same mistake that I did because it'll only hurt your growth. As soon as I started being truthful to myself, I could actually measure my success accurately, which allowed me to progress. To hold yourself accountable, you must reflect on your own actions as if you were watching another person outside of your body. Look at what actions and behaviors they're taking versus what goals they have. And if they do not line up, then they are obviously doing something wrong. After all this time of recording, tracking, and measuring my habits, this one lesson stood out to me amongst everything else. The other stuff I spoke about is pretty obvious. Consistency is key and you must hold yourself accountable. We get it. But the one major thing that people often overlook is that persistence trumps perfection. There was a study done at the University of Florida where a professor took his photography students and split them into 2 groups. Group A was the quality group and Group B was the quantity group. The quantity group was graded on the amount of photos that they could take, whereas the quality group was graded on one single perfect image. Which group do you think produced the best photo? Obviously the quality group, right? By the end of the term, the quantity group produced the best photos. This is because their persistent practice allowed them to experiment, make mistakes, and learn from those mistakes. Meanwhile, the quality group was so focused on creating this perfect image that they ended up producing mediocre results. If you focus on repetition and consistent efforts, it leads to a better outcome than simply striving for perfection. The moral of the story is you don't have to get it right or wrong. Often we're conditioned in school especially that there is either right or wrong, and subconsciously you fear being wrong. However, what they don't teach us is that failure is the breeding ground to success. Without trial and error, nothing good can be created. So if you're a perfectionist or just a stubborn person watching this, I urge you to take the leap and fail a few times, because persistence trumps perfection. At the end of the day, I'm just some random kid who had no direction in life. And honestly, I'm still trying to figure it out. So if I can transform my life in 1 year simply by writing down a few habits and achieving them each day, then so can you. This video is a reasonably short one, but I truly believe that it is my most value-driven video. So if you gained anything at all from this, please subscribe and follow my journey. And feel free to check out the website in my description. I really appreciate your time. Peace.